Battle Cats is a game filled to the brim with content, with a wide variety of cats and enemies, along with sections, evolutions, and strategies. But what I think is overlooked a lot are the stages in Battle Cats. Battle Cats has an enormous amount of stages, with around 450 of them in the main story chapters alone. The stages in Battle Cats is where everything takes place. It's where you put your abilities to the test, see how your cats perform, and rewards you for completing it through progress or drop rewards. It's also where you can fall into an endless pit of depression. How fun. But what makes a stage good, and why? So today I'm going to talk about what I think makes a stage good, what makes a stage bad, and give some examples along the way. Personally, I think that Ponos has done a very good job at making stages. Almost every stage when you progress far into the game requires a whole different set of cats, which makes almost every stage unique in their own way. There isn't one lineup that can solo every single stage in Battle Cats. Well, but that's besides the point. Usually, whenever you are facing a challenging stage, you need to equip new cats, which makes this game so unique and keeps everything fresh. But for all of the stages that are out there, there are bound to be some bad apples as well. Before we talk about what makes a stage good, let's talk about the elements that make up a bad stage. And by bad stages, I mean ones that are either extremely frustrating to beat or extremely boring. There are three main characteristics that I think most people would agree with that would make up a bad stage. The first being stages that are extremely hard to beat without a certain niche uber or just super high levels. It's frustrating to see other people beat levels easily while you struggle just because you don't have that one specific cat with that one specific ability. Similarly, if a stage requires hypermax units to beat it, it won't be fun either. The second element that makes up a bad stage are heavily RNG based stages. If it requires an insane amount of RNG to pull off, it's probably not a fun stage. Especially if you have to waste an enormous amount of energy and items playing a stage over and over again to get that one critical hit off. This doesn't only include metal stages, as RNG in stages can be implemented in other ways apart from crits, such as status effects inflicted onto enemies, or wave attacks from enemies like Doberman, who have a 30% chance to deal a wave attack, which can completely ruin a stack if you are unlucky. A bit of an RNG dependent stage is fine, but too much RNG required and it becomes horrible to play. And finally, annoying enemies. Don't get me wrong, these enemies do have their place in this game and should stay. Annoying enemies, if implemented correctly in a stage, can make the stage even better. However, when you don't use them correctly, it can completely ruin a stage. The worst offender of these three elements, in my opinion, is the stage March to Death, an event stage featuring the boss Debut. This stage is the absolute worst. The boss is a zombie with long-range attacks, which is already annoying in itself, and a slow ability to top it off, which is even more annoying. But the boss is fine, as the previous levels that feature Debut aren't that frustrating as this one. However, it's the enemies in this stage that makes it so painful to play. Meadow enemies. Super Meadow Hippos, Meadow Seals, and Meadow Doges, who are all annoying by themselves. But combined with Debut, the stage's annoying meter increases exponentially to the point where you need astronomical amounts of RNG to crit the Meadows and also fend off Debut, along with super high level units, to be able to tank an extra hit or two, which can make or break the stage. It's like every Ponos staff member came together to make the most terrible stage in existence. For me to beat this stage, I think I used like 30 rich cats just in order to get the RNG required to beat it. It was not a very fun time. Those were the three main things I hate when going into a stage, but that doesn't cover everything. Some other things I don't like are a complete lack of variety in enemies, or super grindy stages, and a few more. But for the sake of time, let's move on to the more positive sides of things. So what makes a stage good, or fun? This question is a lot tougher than knowing what makes a stage bad. There's such a large amount of good stages out there that it will be very hard to generalize them under a few characteristics, unlike the bad stages that I talked about before. I think as long as a stage doesn't have these 3 characteristics, it should be a decent enough stage. This section of the video is going to be a lot more subjective, as I'm pretty sure almost everybody would agree with the first 3, but maybe not. Who knows, maybe you are a misogynist who enjoys playing stages that can cause severe amounts of brain damage. I don't know, I'm not judging. But anyways, here are my top 2 things I like to see in stages. And then I'll go over what I think is the best stage in Battle Cats. The first thing I like to see in stages is simplicity. Stages with a whole bunch of enemies can be very overwhelming, and sometimes stages with only a few different enemies can be really enjoyable to play as well, just as long as it's not too simple. One of my favorite types of simple stages are the ones with one strong boss with high HP and damage, along with some support units to go along with it. You just spam meat shields and units that can slow it down, and it's just fun. There's not really a high level of strategy involved, but I find these simple stages are the most fun out of all of them. It requires some time to whittle down the boss HP and constantly send out cats, but nothing beats the satisfaction of finally beating a boss after a long fight. It's a nice break from all those stressful RNG, high skill requirement stages. On the other hand, stages like Saint Red Fox, which is the second boss of Stories of Legends, has a whole bunch of things going on with a bun bun at the very start, Meadow Doges to support him, the boss, red faces, black elephants, heavenly hippos, wild doges, and Charlie Boggers. There's just a bit too much going on in there. The second thing I like to see in stages are the ones you need to figure out. Usually, when you first enter a stage in the later parts of the game, you don't know what's going on. There's unknown enemies and you don't know when they are going to appear. This means that you have to play the stage at least a few times to be able to develop a coherent strategy in order to beat the stage. You need to work out the timings, what cats you need to bring, or if you can even beat it in the first place. Each new stage you enter is like a brand new puzzle that you need to solve each time, and that's something I really enjoy doing. So those are the 2 things that I really think make a stage shine. It's pretty general, and there are plenty of stages out there that have these 2 factors in them. And I got to thinking, these stages were the 2 common factors that I enjoyed the most, so what stage represented that to the fullest extent? There are tons of stages out there, and I was thinking for quite a long time. A bit later, and I stumbled upon a realization. Although simplicity and trying to solve a puzzle was fun when playing a stage I hadn't completed yet, there was something that I valued even more than that. Just destroying stages with overpowered cats. And not just any overpowered cat like a Bahamut. The overpowered cats that other people don't have. There's nothing more satisfying than seeing other people struggle while you easily coast through a stage with one cat you got lucky with on a draw, and look back and say, aw, skill. And not just any kind of run-of-the-mill Uber like Kasajiza or Aphrodite. Because like, everyone and their grandmas have them already. Don't be getting cocky if you got them in some guaranteed 11 draw. No, I'm talking about the exclusive of the exclusive. The best of the best. The Uberfest and Epicfest exclusives. Like Gao, Shadow Mitama, and Mitama. I know it seems like I'm directly contradicting a point I made earlier about what makes up a bad stage, well, because I am, but give me a moment. There's 2 sides of the coin. Of course it's annoying to me whenever I see other people easily beat hard stages, but when I'm the one who can easily beat the stage, you can bet I'm having the time of my life. The stage that exemplified this the most is floor 40 of Heavenly Tower. It's usually super difficult upon your first encounter, and you need super precise timings over the span of the stage in order to beat it. But when you just have a Shadow Gao, it's like all your problems are gone. Did I even have any in the first place? The level becomes a super hard to beat sweaty stage into, wow, where did the boss go? It's that easy. Who needs some complicated in-depth analysis on what makes a stage good when you can feel self-validated through beating difficult stages with broken cats? Not me.